Hello, it's Liam. Welcome back to Peak1. Today I'm joined by Rob and Harrison. How you doing, boys?
Yeah, mate, good. Good. How are you?
Good. Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. So we're gonna go straight into it. First of all, There For You. Personally,
Yes.
one of my favourite songs. I can't lie, I've been a bit of a fan with it. How did it come about?
I think after a bottle of rum and a pizza, to be honest, over at mine. Am I right in thinking that, Rob?
I think, yeah, it was. We spent an entire day sat in your shed.
Yeah.
Just kind of getting more and more deep into this tune.
Yeah.
And came back to it the next day and went, oh, damn, we're onto something.
When we went back into the project, we realised there was so much stuff that was just like wrong with it and not how we would normally produce, which is what leads me to think there was some alcohol involved in it.
Of course. From a standpoint of, I know Harrison especially, your music's very much from the heart, and Rob as well. I mean, There For You has to be one of the, like, it melodically to me, it just sends you on like a little sort of half of your own, you kind of let yourself go with it. Was there any sort of mental, behind it, if you get what I mean? Just like, was there anything behind the tune that sort of was like to let yourself go and to like put people on a talk with themselves,
I mean, I think we always like to try and combine like nice melodic stuff that kind of evokes emotion with like the bassy stuff that also gets you kind of bumping, and that's what we wanted to really achieve through this. I think finding the vocal of There For You was kind of like pretty nice when we're both sitting there, and we're obviously like good mates, so it kind of made sense to whack that in, and that I think is what evokes the emotion. And then you've got all these melodic elements. There's a lot more to it than I actually realised when I went back into the project. Things designed to evoke kind of emotion and be a bit like introspective. The kind of parts of the track that come down and filter off and then come back up. It's like, you're going inwards, you're going outwards, you're going low, you're going high. So that was, I suppose it is kind of designed for that in a way.
I think it's something that we both try and do in our music, is that emotional journey and that emotional like punch that some club music you don't get that, where it's not got that heart and that soul, and I feel like that's something that we really tried to put into the tune from the start of the tune. Like, that's kind of where the tune started, is from that heart, that soul, that like, right, how are we going to make people feel things, and then you can start making it bounce, start making people dance to it. But I think that's where it started, and that's why that vocal kind of resonated, right? Just sat in the shed as two mates going, oh, let's make a tune. And so that vocal, like, Let Me Be There For You, resonated, and kind of the track kind of came from there, basically.
The healing process. We think we've got to talk a bit about it. Harrison, what was the idea behind the healing process to start off with?
Me and TC4 were talking about the fact that there's not a lot of space in this kind of genre, just representation for this kind of emotional dance music. So that was like one of the big focuses, is trying to spotlight that music and having a club night and a community based around that, trying to build the infrastructure for that to be able to build. And also the emphasis on making it a safe space. I think there's also a lot of club nights that aren't necessarily, policed in the right way. A lot of things happen on nights out that, people experience that we would rather not have people experience. And the emphasis on it being like a really community-based night where everyone's looking out for each other, I think is the only way that you can kind of ensure that. So that was really the fundamentals, creating like a safe, inclusive space where everybody feels like they can be part of it. And then also, building some infrastructure around this scene were the main 2 points for why it was started.
Fair enough. And back onto the healing process. I know a lot of it is meant to be sort of like, I don't want to say mental health, but is there a hint of an element of, you go to connect with people who may have had a similar mental journey, so to speak, with them?
Yeah, I think, the Healing Process by name, it was originally called Group Therapy, and then there was something else that clashed with that. I think there's a radio in America called that. So we wanted to not clash on that, and I was trying to think of other things that encapsulate that idea of people coming together to all dance together and heal through music. So the Healing Process felt very, I think that was kind of why it was named that. And yeah, bringing people together is at its core the main thing. So the Healing Process is we're all coming together to heal through music. It made sense. Yeah.
Now, a question for you both, obviously, is how did you two, A, meet, and B, become such good friends to the point where, we're creating music in Harrison's shed with a bit of alcohol and pizza at the sounds of it?
Rob, do you want to take this one? I think I remember how we met, but it was quite funny.
I can't remember exactly. I think we met at an event. No,
it was Ministry of Sound, and my mate Sam, who got me into music, invited you along because you went to Guildhall, which Sam also did, and I went to Sam's secondary school. So it was like that kind of him being a mutual, who we're actually meeting up with today. He was the one that introduced us, and I remember calling him Robert Northby rather than Southby, and from that point onwards.
It's a classic for a reason. I said on you, and we all bonded over it.
So the friendships through mutuals that just grew into an ironic, iconic duo. Rob, tell us a little bit about how you got into music.
So for me, I mean, the way that I got into music, I'm classically trained, have learned instruments from the age of 4, and then got more and more into electronic dance music. All the albums that you see behind me,
of course,
kind of my path into this kind of music that I'm making. And so got excited about it with friends, was making music at school, and then went on and studied it at uni, and then have kind of continued that, just making music with friends and continuing to learn and be excited about it from there. But you can kind of hear, I don't know, we're now coming kind of full circle in that I'm now putting the classical back onto the electronic stuff and the dance music in the way that I'm writing now.
Harrison, I'll be honest to say, doing my research, there wasn't much about your start into music. Would you tell us a little bit of how you started?
That friend Sam that I was referencing earlier,
of course.
Me and him sat next to each other in IT in school, and he showed me, I hadn't really found anyone that was on that same kind of wavelength as I was with music. And me and him started talking about what kind of music we like, and he showed me some bass house, I showed him some future house, and I wanted to get into music production, and Sam recommended that I should, but I'm one of these people where if I can't pick it up really quickly, I just won't do it. I've tried to learn animation, I've tried to learn graphic design and stuff, and if I can't do it within a week, I just give up. But having someone there kind of at your side helping you to produce, because me and him then went on to form an alias when I was 15, and me and him made some music together before the conception of Drinks on Me. And having someone by my side helping me through where everything is, and if I wanted to do something, you'd have someone there that had knowledge to be able to do it, rather than I think if I had to keep on stopping and starting and going into tutorials and finding out how to do these things, I would have quickly lost my enthusiasm for it. So that was how I got into music production.
A quick one about the name. No offense, Rob, but I think we both know where the name Southby came from. But Drinks on Me, how did that come about?
I wanted something that already feels kind of familiar with people. I think there's that aspect of marketing where you want something to already feel very, familiar. So I was kind of looking around for other people that have done something similar, and came across Anti-Up, which is Chris Lorenzo's alias with Chris Lake. and they like I love that project, and this was before I was even considering like creating a new artist. And like Up in the Ante is already kind of in the vernacular of people in the UK, and I wanted something that was already kind of familiar with people. So I went down the pub with my mates one night. I remember just saying like, "Oh lads, like drinks are on me," like for the first round, and they were like, "Oh mate, that's a fucking, that could be your artist name." Like I was talking about the fact I hadn't found an artist name, and I remember we were all just sitting around, and I was like, "Yeah, actually that could work." And it also, I think when I thought about it a bit more, it encapsulates that kind of community aspect. Like Drinks on Me, it's this kind of open arms, welcoming, like, you know, friendly, kind of, it's got connotations of that. So I think it kind of made sense with what I was trying to do through music, which is connect and, you know, get everybody like around and just have a good time.
Any upcoming music between these boys, both of yous?
So much.
Too much.
Yeah.
Too much. Too much.
Yeah.
Harrison, quickly coming back onto you. Heaven and Hell.
Yes.
Sounding very much like, you know, the next big thing with you. Honestly, I listened to the bit of the preview last night.
Yeah.
In my opinion, it sounds amazing.
Thank you, mate.
Tell us, without telling us too much, where the idea came from.
I wanted to kind of pay homage to the people in life that feel like heaven on earth, and these people that you meet, like Rob, like Sam, like all these people that just bring this kind of uplifting positivity to your life. And then I wanted to also create the kind of flip side of that in Hell and make them both like go into each other. I just had this concept of making a track that goes from really like beautiful and airy and light to really dark and grungy and heavy. And it was more like a production challenge for myself to see if I could make that work, and using the same motif, using the same melody, but then pitching it down and making it go from, you know, like major to minor and happy to sad. And that was really how the whole thing came about. And I remember it was a challenge between me and Hans Glader. And we both used to do these little production challenges back in the day, like through COVID. And then I just gave it a 2023 revamp, and now that's kind of where it's at.
Beat battles. How did this one come about?
You got it, Rob.
This one was sat in one of Harrison's other many sheds. Sat in Harrison's shed in the hot tub.
Yep.
As all the best ideas should be. And we were just chatting about how to kind of make content, be online, like put ourselves out in a way that didn't make us unhappy, basically, because there's so much, like, you've got to be putting out content and music and all of this all the time in order to stay in people's minds and to build a fan base and to build a community around you. But doing that on our own felt quite rough. And I just, we were like, actually, if we can make music every week that gets each other excited, that of itself is worthwhile. And then we can put it out and see if other people kind of vibe with it, kind of get on board with this idea. And the worst that happens is we make each other laugh every week. And the best that happens is that people latch onto this and kind of come along with us, which is what's happened, which has been really cool.
One of my personal favourites, and I think Harrison might be about to see where we're going with this. Mackie G Tour. Personally, from a drum and bass DJ perspective, had to have been the funniest, and I kind of like the switch up because Harrison, you usually do a lot of, you know, I'm going to say 140-ish region stuff. But when I look onto it and downloaded it, it's you stepped up the BPM. But then Rob, you switched it up. You've gone from your usual drum and bass sort of junglish sort of background to down near the 140s. And I kind of like the idea of how you've both gone, you know, you've switched. But I think that one, if I'm right in saying, I could be wrong here, gained quite a lot of attention. Am I right?
Yeah.
Am I wrong? Yeah. When do you think that could become, you know, where you switch and do like another drum and bass song and switch the roles around?
Yeah, I mean, this week's one that's just gone, the Disney Channel one, I also did like something that Rob would probably be semi-proud of. And he took a slower tempo one. So it does happen on the odd occasion. I mean, I like to try and vary the genres in my beat battles. Which can only be said for the one of us. But
Oh dear.
But yeah, I mean, I do like to try and diversify it, so, because I there is the fear that this series could potentially go stale if it keeps on being, we put a 1/7/4 break under something and just make a bass line for it. We're trying to, you know, branch out, do different ideas. It's also difficult with actual ideas of what goes on the wheel. Like it's difficult to keep those content ideas going, and there's a lot that goes into this series that people don't really see behind the scenes because it's all condensed down into like a 3-minute video. But this takes us both about, you know, 3 or 4 hours to make each song. Then the recording sessions, we both got to find a time in our like busy scheduled weeks to try and record it, and then I've got to edit it down, and then you've got to post it, and then you've got to try and promote it and all of that. And it's you know, there's a lot going on in there. But yeah, we're trying to keep it varied, trying to keep it entertaining, trying to keep it interesting by, you know, varying things.
I think some of the reason for that variation as well is because we're trying to entertain each other. Like, as much as we are thinking like, oh, you know, I don't want to make it boring for other people. Like, if I come in every single time with a D&B tune, Harrison's not going to get excited. So I've got to switch it up. And it's like, and it's boring for me. Like, I'm making music that entertains me, entertains like the both of us. If I do the same thing every time, that's boring. So that's why we end up switching it up, which is why we usually end up with completely different ideas every week. Is because we're both going, oh, what can we do? Like, what's going to be fun? What's going to be cool? What am I going to want to play out in a set? All of that is like more important than what does the audience want.
Coming back onto social media as well, I mean, no offense, Southby, but both you and Drink's social medias are something else, especially you, Harrison. Can you tell us about how you think of like the JME Mario Kart song? I mean, that really took off. You know, I saw it on GRN Daily and stuff. And then, like, so many other people just, like, you know, reposted the video on TikTok and that. How, one, do you come up with the idea to do that? And two, the social media side of it, because surely you either send it off to get it edited by someone or you do it yourself.
That was done myself.
Which must take some time.
With this social media content stuff, I'm not trying to just, you know, dance around to something that was made in an hour. Like, there's I want to try and keep these things like high quality, and if there's any way that I can do that. I mean, the irony is I edited that all on iMovie, and I have to edit everything with my head tilted because you can't do vertical videos. And like, I've done loads of like stop motion style stuff where you're bouncing, like all the lyrics that come up on my things are all like Photoshop PNGs that I'm like placing on iMovie over a video. I really need to invest in better editing software. But I mean, it's a lot of work, and I want high effort content to be rewarded. And it grinded my gears a bit when someone in the comments was like, all he's done is put JME vocal over a song, and then he's just put his face on Wario. There's nothing good. And I was like, bro, you do it then. Like, it took me like, you know, 10 hours of work all in all, and it's good that stuff gets picked up. You know, I'd rather the content that I'm proud of and I think I've put a lot of effort in does well and is rewarded. Like, I like to think that there's that reward scheme in the universe for high effort content, but it's not always too obvious these days, you know.
Yeah. So I feel like I'm leaving you out here, Rob. Another one for you, Drinks. So, as a somewhat long time follower. I remember, I couldn't tell you the back when it was, but you did dub of day before, haven't you? How on earth, A, did you even come up with that? And B, how long does it actually take for you to like think of a song to dub, obviously produce it, and then do all the social stuff for it? Because it's gonna take some time for it, especially if you're doing one a day for however many days.
Yeah. The first one was a lot more of an intentional dub a day. Like, I had 7 songs and I put them all in like folders, and I was gonna do, I did one a day. Whereas this, I had a lot of music that I've just been keeping to myself, and it's in the depths of my computer and it's never going to get released. And I figured, I can repackage it in this way. So it wasn't necessarily like so intentional, which is why it's all like a little bit disconnected this time. There's loads of different genres and there's loads of different kind of like things going on. But yeah, it takes a long time. Each of those remixes probably take about 3 or 4 hours, and then giving them out, making all of the social media content for it is a lot of work. So yeah, all in all, each song is probably about 6 hours of work. Times that by 14 and you've got about 80 hours, 90 hours of work that goes into these things, which is why, if it doesn't perform particularly well, it can get disheartening. But you've just got to think of it as you're giving out music and some people will appreciate it, and that's all that really matters.
Rob, can we expect any more drum and bass stuff, or do you think being with Harrison, especially with There For You, of course, do you think that might have shifted your sort of genre making?
No, I very much intend to keep making drum and bass. I think I don't want to just make one genre. I think it's way more interesting to be able to make more genres and to be able to just make the music that you want, no matter what the BPM is, no matter what people say, oh, this is in this category. Like, if I'm putting out music that I'm excited about and passionate about, then that's what the Southby project is for. And I think we're seeing that more and more, where artists are willing to step out of genres. You look at Fred Again's album, it's got drum and bass on it, it's got house, it's got garage. Like, all of those influences are coming together to become that one project. I think that's exciting me a lot in dance music at the moment. So yeah, I want to keep making garage, but I'm definitely making D&B as well. I got loads of it. So
can we expect more helium processors in the end in the future? And I'm going to be cheeky with this one. Can we expect one up here anytime in the near future?
I think my main focus, especially given how much goes into them and how much, I even live outside of London, and it's difficult for me to do these, having to get, night buses or Ubers back, which takes like an hour and a half. So to do it elsewhere right now, I think my main focus when I think about branching this out and taking it to different places, I feel like this concept would land very well in America, which is where I really want to take it to. But obviously I want to make it global and nationwide, so it's just about building it here. And I feel like London is one of the most difficult places really to build something, because there's so much competition. There's always another night going on at the same time that is probably got a bigger lineup and bigger names that people would rather go to, whereas those local initiatives, if you were to do them in places like Sheffield, or if you did them in cities in Poland or Latvia or whatever, I feel like it's a lot easier to get people to something, because it's more of like a central hub where everyone can go. But in London things feel like very kind of fragmented. So yeah, trying to build it here would be proof that I can take it elsewhere and it would be a success. I think London is one of the most difficult challenges. Yeah, it's effectively starting up on difficult mode, but I like a challenge. And doing one next February, hopefully for Valentine's, and this one that's coming at the end of November is going to be a very special one.
So I'll ask both of you. Rob, where can we find you social media wise?
I'm at Southby Music on everything.
Where can we find you as well?
Yeah, Drinks on Me Music on pretty much everything.
No worries. Thank you very much, boys. This has been Liam from Peak1. See you later.